May I have your attention, please? So, before we get started with the video, I just want to go ahead and say that no pressure, but whose creator code are you using in the item shop? And whatever you're about to say, it's wrong, okay? Wrong answer. What you should do is go on over to the item shop, right? Go ahead and press Support-A-Creator down in the bottom right, and then type in my code, all right? It's MY, god dang it. I like it to be lowercase, but it doesn't really matter. myfii. All right, there you go. Now just go ahead and click on accept. You'll see a green check mark pop up, and then in the top right, it'll look like that. myfii, all right? It'll get you literally nothing off, like not a single cent, but it'll support me. And if my videos have ever helped you out, or if you're just trying to help me eat and potentially not starve to death, go ahead and use it, all right? It's literally, at this point, you're just a good Samaritan, all right? But in all seriousness, if you do want to support me, item shop, Support-A-Creator Code, myfii. And with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get right into the video. Alright, what's going on YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys my 1 week progression from controller to mouse and keyboard. And I'm also going to be going over what I went through and the struggles that I faced and where I am at 1 week later. But before we actually get started with the video, I just want to go ahead and say that we are on the road to 8,000 subscribers. If you have not already, please go ahead and subscribe and turn on post notifications so you never miss out on my videos. And with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into this 7-day progression. So to start us off, I'm going to give a little bit of background just real briefly, and then we are going to start on each individual day, what I did during that day and how I improved and the struggles that I faced. So let's go ahead and get into the background. I played on console/controller for 10 years. I've been playing Fort since season 2. I never really learned building until season 5 or right around Build a Pro coming out. And I didn't actually start practicing till like season 7. And anytime I saw someone playing on a mouse and keyboard, it just blew my mind. Like, I was very intimidated by the fact that there were some players, or there was like a massive community that were mouse and keyboard players on Fortnite that were pressing all these buttons with one hand and then, you know, moving a mouse with another hand that also potentially had buttons. And it just blew my mind. I couldn't fathom it. But then I eventually decided to switch. And I'm not actually going to discuss why I switched, as that is going to be a video on its own. Let's go ahead and get into day 1. So day 1, before I even thought about touching the keyboard and mouse, I went to look up keybinds, because what I had heard from everyone that played on mouse and keyboard was the default keybinds for Fortnite are absolutely garbage, and they were right. They are complete trash. So I didn't even bother trying to play on the default keybinds. I immediately just went and looked up keybinds and good ones to use for beginners, and lo and behold, every single video I found never gave me a definitive answer. Everyone was like, it's all personal preference, you just gotta play it and see. No, anything is better than the default keybinds. So I literally just went, found Tifu's keybinds. His were a little bit too advanced for me, plus he had like side button keybinds, and my mouse at the time didn't have side buttons. So I had to move a few things around, and then these are the keybinds I ended up coming up with. So I was using Q for ramp, E for floor, C for wall, and cone was unbound. I was using scroll wheel, like you actually press the button, not scrolling it, but I think it's called button 3. I was using that to pick up items or just, you know, open chests and all that. And then I was using left shift for crouching and then F for editing, and I had auto run turned on. And everything else was pretty much default. And I was an absolute bot. I couldn't even walk straight. So the problem with me is that I had never even played a WASD game. I had played a little bit of CS like way back in the day, or if I was just at a friend's house and they had, you know, a computer, I'd play on there a little bit, but I never actually seriously played, like sat down for more than 10 minutes and played a WASD game. So not only did I have to learn how to build and how to do everything Fortnite related, I had to learn basic movements of any sort of kind of modern computer game that uses WASD. So I had to learn the movements. I had to learn how to build. I had to learn what buttons to press. I was an absolute bot. I kid you not, the gameplay you're seeing in the background isn't actually from day one as it says on the screen, as I was too embarrassed to even record myself. And it wasn't until day 2 that I actually thought, hey, I'm actually gonna make a progression video to see how much I improve from day to day. So that's what I ended up doing. So the gameplay you're seeing right now is kind of me like reenacting how I was. It was completely bad. Like when I tell you that I was walking forward and then randomly I would hit wall and I would just start walking into a wall and then I couldn't stop walking into it, it's because my fingers just didn't know what to do. I played creative for about 3 hours just learning how to walk and do extremely slow 90s, like I said, constantly misclicking and looking down at my keyboard to know where to press. It's a huge thing. Everyone's going to suffer with that at first. Looking down at your keyboard is inevitable. I remember back when I first started playing on controller, or at least back when I first got like an Xbox 360 for like the very first time, like 10 plus years ago or whatever, I looked down at the controller all the time. And here I am again looking down at my keyboard. After constantly misclicking and looking down, by the end of the night, I had learned to actually move and do very basic things like placing a ramp, running at the same time, while holding down like the click button, or just left click on the mouse to actually place the ramp while running. Like that was a huge thing. I couldn't believe I was holding W down while also holding the ramp down and while also holding down left click. That was something that was super hard for me at first. I was very amazed that I could even do that. But like I said, I was still looking at my keyboard. Day 1 was a complete disaster. I was too afraid to even record it. And that's pretty much how it went. Day 2, a lot of the same things. Still looking down at the keyboard a lot and misclicking, but I could tell my hands and my fingers were starting to develop some sort of muscle memory or just dexterity in general. My fingers, like I said, still had very little dexterity, and when I'd move, my ring finger and pinky and middle would move as well. So I would move my pinky to press left shift to crouch, and next thing you know, I'm also pressing A and W at the same time because my pinky was moving and so was my middle finger. Now, I kept on having a problem with misclicking the rotate building key as it was right next to my floor key. So my rotate building was R and my floor key was E. So sometimes I would go too far over and press R. And whenever I would be 90ing, and I slowly began 90ing on day 2. And what was happening is that whenever I would press my space bar and then use my index to press E, sometimes without pressing E, I would accidentally press R. And because my fingers were kind of starting to get used to pressing E then Q kind of really quickly together for, floor then ramp, I would press Q a little bit sooner and then my finger would press R, and the next thing you know, I have my ramp completely backwards. It was a complete disaster, but that's how it went. I began doing very simple edit courses, and I also began doing very simple 1v1s with friends that knew I was brand new. So they were going very, very easy on me, and they were just doing basic things like trying to not trap me, but trying to box me in and see how I reacted. Trying to put like floors in front of my ramps to see if I could get out of it without having to like turn around and take 2 minutes just to put a floor and a ramp down. And overall, edit courses were very slow, and I got absolutely destroyed in the 1v1s, but I needed to see how I would perform under pressure as well, because doing things in creative is different from doing things in an actual game or actually in a intense situation. So I wanted to put myself under pressure because I know if I can perform under pressure, then I will also be able to perform in creative, which is where I'll be able to practice more, so then I can perform better under pressure, if that kind of makes sense. It's kind of confusing, but that's how I looked at it, and it's worked. Now getting on to day 3, pretty much an exact copy of day 2. But I decided to change some of my binds in preparation for my new mouse that I was getting in, which had side buttons, and my current mouse that I was using did not. So I changed my wall from C to left shift, and my weapon slot 1 to scroll wheel up, my weapon slot 2 to scroll wheel down. I also put trap on T, but still left cones unbound, as I still wasn't comfortable enough with my 90s or just doing basic ramp and walls to actually worry about coning. Now, on this day, I did more 1v1s and some team rumble. So yes, it took me 3 days to even hop into any sort of public match. In team rumble, it was very hard for me to push anyone, as I was still looking down at my keyboard a lot, and I knew that if I pushed someone and got put under a super intense situation, I would start misbuilding. But eventually I did start pushing, and people even started pushing me, and I kind of slowly learned the basics of just to ramp up, try to get some high ground. Team rumble is very relaxed, so no one's gonna be really shooting you out, and if they do, you have redeploy, so you don't have to worry about just dying immediately. And I pretty much did that all night. And overall, I did begin to notice even more muscle memory after playing Team Rumble for a few hours, and I started noticing that I wasn't missing with my shotgun, which was really weird because on controller my shotgun shot was my biggest weakness. Like, I think my very first public match of Team Rumble, I think I got like 10 kills, and I'm pretty sure all 10 of them were with my shotgun. And it wasn't because I was pushing anyone, because I was still kind of scared, not scared, but kind of incapable of moving my fingers in the right way to actually successfully push someone with a ramp. But anytime I was pushed, or anytime I was in a close quarter situation, I always hit my shotgun shots. I was very, very accurate with it, but I kind of just brushed it off as I thought I was just getting lucky. But it did make me feel good, I will give it that. Now, getting on to day 4, I finally got my mouse in. My mouse I got was the Ultralight 2 by Final Mouse, their newest one. I ordered it about a month ago. I knew I was going to be building a PC soon, and I needed a mouse anyway, so I thought, why not? I did some more keybind changes, as this is what my ultimate goal or my end plan was to have whenever I got a mouse with buttons on the side. I ended up doing V for wall, and I finally bound cone to left shift. I also put my ramp and floor on my side buttons on my mouse, and my pickaxe on Q, as pressing 1, 2, or 3 on my keyboard is just really difficult for me for some reason. I only played a few hours this day as I was super busy, and I didn't record anything, so you guys are seeing the previous day. I was just getting used to my new binds, but I absolutely loved having my ramp and my floor on my mouse. It was super easy, super simple, and overall I love having buttons on the side of my mouse. But there was still a problem. Because I moved my wall from left shift to V, now I had to learn how to move my left thumb, and prior to this, my left thumb had only ever hit spacebar. So now, being 4 days in, I now have to completely teach my left thumb dexterity while also being able to hit spacebar and moving quickly back and forth. But I eventually got around to doing it, and I started feeling a little bit more comfortable with it. Now, overall for day 4, I felt really comfortable with these binds, and I felt like I was improving as I was getting less panicky playing Team Rumble, and I had almost completely stopped looking at my keyboard. But I still had to focus on pressing certain buttons as my muscle memory and finger dexterity were still fairly weak, aka my V button. Now on to day 5. I was getting very used to my keybinds at this point and almost completely stopped looking at my keyboard. I started looking up proper ways to do fast 90s and started practicing them right away. I did notice that once I started constantly holding W down like a lot of the tutorials had said while doing 90s, I started to place floors above my head, which this is still something I'm still working on. Like, I still actually have a problem with this, but every now and then I'll just have like a really big streak where I won't put a floor above my head, and I feel really, really good when I do that. But yeah, for right now I'm still working on perfecting that to where I never place a floor above my head. I also started doing 1v1s with my old console friends that would usually destroy me, and yes, their builds were still better than mine as I was still learning and as I was also misclicking and panic building, but my shotgun shot was phenomenal. I wasn't missing a single shot. I would jump in the air, hit the shot, they'd be above me, I'd hit the shot, they'd be below me, I'd hit the shot. I was not missing my shotgun shots. In fact, I was holding my own strictly because with how good my shotgun shot was and how weak my building was, it was compensating. So my shotgun shot was pretty much overcompensating for how weak my building was. So at that point, I could actually hold my own against players that were 100% better than me. After I realized that my shotgun shot was really good right off the bat, I pretty much just said, you know, I'm just going to stick with this sensitivity. I truly believe that I have found one of the perfect sensitivities right from the beginning, as my most weakest trait on console was my shotgun shot, and now it is my best trait here on PC. So I'm not really complaining. I think my sensitivity is just right. I also practice a ton of editing as well by doing beginner to intermediate courses and as well as aim training courses. I noticed that even though my shotgun shot was good, my AR shot and long range shots were severely lacking. Overall, I felt like I was getting a lot better and could finally hold my own in a fight without just getting completely confused and boxing up. Now on to day 6. I wasn't able to play this day, so there is no data for day 6. I just couldn't play. Now at day 7, which is today, the time that you are seeing this video, I have solved a lot of my misclicking problems, and I never really looked down at my keyboard as I've become very comfortable with my binds, but I still suffer from time to time with hitting V, as I've only been using it for a few days and my thumb isn't entirely used to it on instinct. My shotgun shot is still getting better even though it's already good, but that's probably due in part to my AR shot getting better due to me practicing with aiming courses. Also, today, my mouse pad finally came in. Beforehand, I was using a very, very small Razer RGB mouse pad, and I ended up upgrading to an XL mouse pad. It is the Asus ROG Scabbard mouse pad, It is a fairly big mouse pad, not, you know, super big, but it is enough to give me a ton of room, which I felt like I was really lacking. As I had a ton of room, my mouse pad just wasn't big enough to fill up that room. My building is getting better. My muscle memory and finger dexterity are finally catching on, and I'll begin building without even really thinking about it, which beforehand I would actually have to think about, okay, let's put a ramp down, now let's put a floor and a wall. Now I kind of just do it. I really feel improvement, which is very motivating, but I still have a few problems. I haven't really been practicing my cones on left shift, and because of that, my pinky struggles to move on its own without me thinking about it. My pinky also needs to press left control, as that is my crouch, and because I haven't really been using my pinky at all, it still kind of struggles moving back and forth from shift to control, which is, you know, my cone and my crouch button. Besides that, I'm finally feeling comfortable with my keyboard. My mouse, on the other hand, I'm still working on. So my biggest problem right now is my mouse arm, and it will start moving down and to the right on my mouse pad, which is very uncomfortable. I'm trying to get it to move up and to the right, but for some reason, it's like my arm just wants to get closer to my body when I'm trying to extend it out. And then I also have problems with, once it's extended out, to kind of lift it up a little bit and then quickly swipe it back. So I don't get any player movement in game, but I can kind of like reset how much distance I can go on my mouse pad. Overall, I feel like I've really been improving, and looking back at day one, it completely blows my mind that I couldn't even move forward. So overall, that's pretty much sums up my 7-day progression from controller to mouse and keyboard. If you all have any questions, any comments, if you all have any tips of why I'm moving my mouse in such a weird direction when I could be moving it up to where I have more room instead of down to where I have less room, why my thumb is still struggling to hit V, and how I can actually improve my pinky dexterity. I know that I am going to be getting Kovacs, so if I do make a 2-week progression video, then that will include Kovacs. I will eventually get that to help out my aim training, because I know you can pretty much put your exact Fortnite settings in there. And besides that, that's pretty much just going to go ahead and wrap up the video. Hopefully you all did enjoy. Like I said, any questions, comments, concerns, if you all liked the video, please drop a like. And with that out of the way, I will catch you all in the next one. Peace.